Hello everyone and welcome to Medford Anywhere Learning TV. We're glad you're tuned in. We want to give a shout out to our friends at Southern Oregon PBS, KTVL, KDRV, and the Dove Network. Thank you for hosting us on your station. In the Medford School District, we have one shared vision, and that we believe that all are learning, and learning is for all. And what better place to do that than right here on Medford Anywhere Learning TV.
Hi, I'm Ben Garcia, Education Coordinator for Southern Oregon PBS. I co-teach a couple of classes at Hedrick Middle School and North Medford High School. Those classes are Student Reporting Labs, which is a PBS NewsHour project. And today we are going to experience lesson plan number 2, which is called What is Newsworthy? And here in the studio, we have my co-teacher at North, Curtis Stout. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Curtis Stout. I'm a teacher at North Medford High School, currently teaching yearbook video production, which is now Student Reporting Labs and Business Computers, and currently a football and track coach teaching 9th through 12th grade.
So today we're going to get right into this and start our conversation about what's newsworthy. Every day, newsrooms around the world are challenged with identifying what's newsworthy and what isn't. Reporters and editors use certain guidelines to determine whether or not information is worth being shared. Since the advent of social media, journalists also use social media to see what news people are engaging with. Where do you explore news stories on social media? Snapchat, Twitter, another social media platform that an old millennial like me isn't even aware of? We're going to start this conversation about what's newsworthy right now on social media with our producer, director, Ivan Olinghouse, behind the scenes. So Ivan, what's newsworthy right now for you on social media, and why is it newsworthy for you?
Oh, newsworthy? Well, I guess there's a few things that I find newsworthy, but I don't know about social media. I don't really pay attention to it that much. I'm more of an old school guy. I like catching my news from a whole bunch of different places. I'll get stuff like, like the BBC. I'll pull stuff off there. Maybe I'll get the Washington Post one day. I'll check out different spectrums. I'll go over to Fox. I'll check out CNN. Go over to the NPR. Listen to some radio. All over the place. Because I think a lot of that stuff, when you get a mixture of media, it gives you a better idea on the perspectives that are in the world around you.
Thank you, Mr. Olinghouse. Like you, I am also old school, and I go the more CNN, ABC, NBC, things like that, Mail Tribune, Oregon Live, which is actually one of my favorite ones to look at right now. All right. So Oregon Live, my favorite one to look at. Right now, as I scroll through, I can see that there's Kate Brown right there. I see her picture. How can Oregon reopen with after coronavirus? What else we have? Hillsborough Man, Oregon State, NFL draft. That's a big one right now. Oregon researchers build 3D printable ventilator for coronavirus. Right, medical supplies right now. Everybody changing. That's a huge topic right now. So to me, I'm actually going to pick that one. That's what's newsworthy to me, is how we can create medical supplies with what we have in Oregon.
Thank you, Curtis. I guess I'm the only true millennial of us 3 millennials, in that I get a lot of news from social media. I'll go to the Twitter news feed, Facebook news feed. My favorite place to go is the Reddit app. And I also like to explore many other apps and websites to explore kind of all angles of all issues. I might start off at the Huffington Post and then go over to the Drudge Report. So I try really hard to keep myself well informed from as many different perspectives as possible. Right now, let's take a look at my Reddit app and let's see what headlines are there and what jumps out to me as what is newsworthy. So looking at my Reddit app here, the first headline under the news tab is Trump now claims he spoke sarcastically when repeatedly suggesting people inject disinfectant to cure coronavirus. The next headline is newly revealed financial records show Trump owes millions to state-owned bank in China. The third headline is one that I'm not interested in at all. I don't really like celebrity news. Fourth headline, U.S. says hedge funds private equity are not eligible for small business relief loans. This headline jumps out to me. This is probably of the first 4 headlines what is newsworthy to me right away as I open this app up. Because I feel like small businesses and individuals should be the focus of our relief right now at this phase in pandemic relief. So the next part of the lesson plan has us really digging deeper into what is newsworthy using one particular social media platform, Twitter. And just to let you know, normally we would be doing this in the classroom, but you're at home, so you'll have to do some of these activities and sub-activities with friends and family. So in the classroom, we would normally project the Twitter feed so students could see or pull the Twitter feed up on computers. So if you're at home and you have your phone in front of you, or if you have a laptop computer, you can go to the Twitter hashtag explore, or like I did, go to the Twitter news feed. And out of hundreds of news stories published per day, Twitter curators aggregate the news by selecting stories they feel effectively explore important issues. And of course, they try to be fair and balanced about this process, as most media outlets do. And so what we want you to do is we want you to go through the Twitter news feed and find a headline that's newsworthy to you, read an article, repeat that process a few times until you've really found a newsworthy article. And what you'll do is eventually, because we're not there yet, you'll apply what's timely about this article. Does it have proximity? Is there conflict and controversy? Is there a human interest kind of element? You'll apply your understanding of these different terms that I just relayed to you to that article. But first, we have to learn these terms. So here in the studio with Mr. Olinghouse and Mr. Stout, we're going to try to do what we would do in the classroom, which is figure out what these terms mean based upon pre-existing or prior knowledge already in our head. So of these terms, I'll start with timeliness. Now I teach this class, so I already have a little bit of a cheat in that I have notes in my head. But timeliness relates to whether the issue has a connection to what's going on right now in our society, in our world, in our culture. And so as it relates to funding and relief for businesses, the article that I talked about earlier, that is a very timely topic because we are in the middle of a pandemic and we have to help our businesses, especially small businesses, as much as possible so that when we come out of this thing, they'll be solvent and they'll be able to continue business as normal. So I'll let Mr. Stout talk about what he thinks proximity means in relation to news. So Mr. Stout, what is proximity?
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Before we get started, though, I want to show you guys something that's pretty cool that's going on in the studio. It might look like Mr. Garcia and myself, we're sitting right next to each other, but if I go like this, I cannot touch Mr. Garcia because here in this lab, we care about social distancing. So Ben is actually clear on that side of the room, way far away from me. Looks like I'm looking right at him. Good job, Mr. Olinghouse, in making this happen. All right, so if you guys think about proximity, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? To me, like what's happening right here, where I'm at. So that's what's most important. The same thing for what's newsworthy. So what's going on in your community? What's engaging you guys? The whole effect of what's going on. Is it close? Is it far? Is it something that's far that's happening way out and then it's working its way back in? So that's your proximity, is what's going on, where it's going on.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Curtis. But there's some more that we want to add to this. There's more layers to what makes things newsworthy. And one of them is when we're talking about conflicts and controversies in the news. Those are things that really keep us engaged in this news cycle at any given moment. And it can be something as small as personal differences between two individuals to entire conflicts between countries, to controversies over which opinions are valid, or It could be something related around facts. All these conflicts and controversies really feed into how we make these value decisions about what's the most newsworthy. So to keep this ball rolling, Mr. Garcia, what would you say about human interest?
Thanks, Ivan. As it relates to analyzing what's newsworthy and looking at the human element in a news story, you really want to see whether the news story talks about the human aspect of this. And right now it's really easy because we're inundated with stories about the current pandemic we're going through. And so we're seeing how humans are affected, different humans, humans that have lost their jobs, humans that have gotten COVID-19, humans that are dealing with the unfortunate loss of a friend or a family member due to this thing. So oftentimes you'll see in the news that the human element is really ratcheted up in a lot of articles because that helps people become more interested in the news when it relates to them on like a human emotional level.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. As we look at what's newsworthy, okay, so we talked about timeliness, proximity, conflict and controversy. We talked about human interest, but let's take it back more to you, kind of like with the proximity. Okay, so we're going to talk about the last step, which is relevance. Okay, what's going on in your life? How is it relevant to you? Are you currently looking for a job? Maybe. Okay, so anything in that realm that would be relevant to you. Okay, so that's what relevance is.
So now that you have a basic understanding of these different aspects of what makes a news story newsworthy, and on the next slide, you're going to see the definitions for these terms. You can write them down on a piece of paper, and then to the right of the term, you can analyze a news article. So find a news article and then start analyzing, its timeliness, its proximity, etc. And to the right of these terms on your piece of paper, you can write why, in your own words, this news article is timely, why it has proximity, etc. So let's take a look at these terms right now. So how do they relate to the news? How do these aspects of what's newsworthy relate to the news? If you can take a look at this next slide here. Over the last year, Mr. Stout, Mr. Olinghouse, and myself, we've tried to work with the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Lab's definitions for these terms, and we have restated them kind of in our own words. So timeliness, when was it reported? Is the day and time of the report important? And I think I related this on a larger scale, a bigger perspective of does it relate to what we're going through right now in society, in our culture. So I missed this first part. Proximity. Curtis and Ivan did a good job talking about this. Does this story affect us where we live? Does it affect me? How? Conflict and controversy. What's the conflict? Who's it between? What's the problem? Why is it important? Human interest. Who are the people or person involved in the story? Why are they important? Can you identify with them or what they went through? How? So I talked a little bit about this, and right now, considering the human interests is kind of like being empathetic, putting yourself in the shoes of the person in the story, if there is a person that's kind of being profiled in the story. And lastly, relevance. How is this article relevant to you and your life? Why is it relevant to the life of another human being? Why are people talking about this topic right now? And so most stories about COVID-19 right now are extremely relevant. So relevance is definitely an aspect of what's newsworthy that you really want to look at as you're analyzing news stories using this chart here. So please, as you've written a chart at home with all of these terms to the left and to the right, you're writing about the article through these different perspectives, through the lens of these different terms. Please think about these terms. If we were in a classroom, as a class, we would go to the Twitter newsfeed and we would examine the current news that's there right now using these different aspects of what's newsworthy. But right now, since we're in the studio and you're doing this at home, Mr. Olinghouse, Mr. Stout, and myself we're going to go to that Twitter newsfeed live, and we're going to select a headline that we collectively feel is newsworthy, and we're going to talk about why it's newsworthy through the lens of these different terms: timeliness, proximity, conflict, controversy, etc. So, Mr. Stout, let's take a look here. Let's scroll through our news headlines here and apply our criteria for what is newsworthy. We have a headline here that says Maryland warns against ingesting disinfectants after calls to hotline. Okay, that has some proximity, and also it's timely because it relates to COVID-19. Wuhan was the fentanyl capital of the world. That also meets our criteria, 3 or 4 pieces of our criteria. How close are we to coronavirus vaccine? Ooh, that right there, I feel like is the headline that kind of checks off all of those criteria elements, especially in terms of proximity and timeliness. I would really like to know when a vaccine is coming. So that's a very newsworthy headline for me. Mr. Stout, if you continue to look through these headlines, what grabs your attention in terms of meeting all those criteria for newsworthiness?
Well, thank you, Ben. When I look at this, that topic right there comes out to me. How close are we to a coronavirus vaccine? You hit the nail on the head. That's affecting everybody in Oregon, in Medford, in Central Point, Ashland, all these surrounding areas. So I wouldn't even go any further because that to me is what I am interested in.
Absolutely. It checks the human interest criteria because we're all involved, we're all important, we're all affected. It checks relevance. This headline and article is very applicable to our own lives right now. So, Mr. Olinghouse, what do you think over there in the production control booth?
Yeah, I would have to agree with both of you that particular headline is a real important one. There's another one down a little further, though, that also really caught my eye, and it's an opinion piece, and it's trying to predict how bad it might get in terms of economic forecast, and they're trying to compare what we're going through right now with the Great Depression. And to me, that's a highly interesting thing. Even though we have the Great Depression, an event that took place a long time ago, it still holds great relevance to the immediate now, and it immediately affects us in our proximity. And this is a bit of a controversy saying, hey, how bad is the economic downturn going to get? That one really also grabbed my eye as one that hits on all cylinders, even though it's an opinion piece.
So, as you can see through our analysis of the headlines today, you can apply this criteria to any news story. Remember, while you're doing this at home, newsworthy stories do not need all 5 elements, but most solid stories have at least 3 or 4. So, when reading the news, ask yourself, is it relevant? Is it timely? Does it affect me? After you finish up that last activity, where you have the terms on the left-hand side of the paper, and then you have your reflection on the right-hand side of the paper, on the back of the paper, you can write down 3 questions that you think in the future you can ask yourself when identifying what's a good news story. Please email these questions to your SRL teacher. Fortunately, right now, Mr. Stout has an SRL class going, so he could have his students do this. Mr. Stout, what do you think?
Absolutely, Mr. Garcia. If you are part of my SRL class, this is great practice right now. It's relevant to you. You guys are sitting at home. You guys are doing this anywhere learning. You guys are on social media. You're on news. So go in there, find what's newsworthy. Find more than just coronavirus. There's so many other things that are out there that are newsworthy, but find out what's newsworthy in your area.
Okay, we've reached the end of our lesson. Thanks for joining us. I'll let my 2 co-teachers say goodbye, and right now I'll say goodbye. Have a wonderful day.
Good to have you all today. Thanks for watching Medford Anywhere Learning TV. Over to you, Mr. Stout.
Again, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Keep learning, stay safe, and have a great summer.
Thanks for tuning in to Medford Anywhere Learning TV. Medford School District is a place where all are learning, and learning is for all.
miss you a bunch. I hope that this virus stops so I can see you more. Miss you. We love you. I wanted to say hi to Miss Jossie's class and all my friends at Jacksonville, and I miss you. Bye.
Hello, my name is Christian Chavez, and I go to KUA's charter school, and I want to give a huge shout out to Miss Kay Derrickson. She is highly respected with my family and I, and I just wanted to let her know that she's super important to me because she helps me with my education, and I hope she stays safe.
Mr. Smith, I love you. Thank you, Mrs. Pardo and Mrs. Manili. We miss you and love you. Bye.
I appreciate Mrs. Valois because she's very hardworking, easy to talk to, and loving and understanding to all her students.
Thank you for all your hard work, Mrs. Beard. I miss you. Thank you, Miss Yanker, for everything you do. I miss you.
Hi, Mr. Rumry and Senora Winechild. Thank you for all you've done for me.
Hi, Mrs. N. I'm making you a cat because I miss you so much.
I hate being on camera, but I wanted to let my teachers know how much I love them and how much I miss them. Thank you guys for being the best and the greatest. Thank you so much for teaching me.
Hi, my name is Natalia and I go to Logan High School. My teachers are Miss Southmead and Miss LaBelle. I want to thank them for always supporting me even through this hard time with coronavirus and doing Zoom calls to teach each other every Wednesday. I just want to thank you, Miss S and Miss L. And thank you all teachers. I appreciate you. Bye.
The teacher that I am thankful for is Mrs. Fowler. She's always very caring and pushes me to my limits and is always smiling.
You're the best teacher ever, Mr. Mickelson. I miss you. Hi, my name is Taylor, and I go to Abraham Lincoln Elementary, and my teacher is Mr. Allman, and I miss all my friends. Hi, Mrs. Abbott. Thanks for being my teacher. I really, really miss you. Mrs. Carson, and thank you for everything that you do. I miss you. Thank you. Allison, I miss you a lot. I can't wait to see you. Bye. Hi, Miss Alderman. I appreciate you because you work so hard for our class to take care of us, and I miss you.
Say hi, Miss Tolson, for being my teacher!
Hey, South Medford teachers. I just want to say thank you from me to you for mainly these last 3 years. You guys have taught me so much and really helped me make the person that I am today, and you guys have been so gracious and lenient and just all around good teachers, and you're dedicated to your students. So if you've had me as a student, I just want to say personally thank you so much, and for always taking the time to teach me and explain things and answer my millions of questions. And also, even now in quarantine, you guys are still dedicated to your students and you're still working hard to teach us. And I just want to say thank you, and I hope you guys are doing good.
I'm thankful for Miss Blessy at Roosevelt School. She's the best.
Hi, Mr. Barbie, thank you. I'd like to say hi to all my 6th grade teachers, Mr. Franklin, Miss Banky, and Miss Cabot.
Thank you, Mrs. Stratton.
Thanks, Miss Murphy at Hoover Elementary. We miss you.
Hey, Miss Stout. I love being in your class. I miss you. Go Beavers.
Go, Mrs. Dustin.
Hey, Team 72 teachers. Thanks for being so great. I miss you. Go Bulldogs.
Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to Miss Mie's class at Jacksonville Elementary. And a hi to all of the students, staff, and teachers. I miss you. Bye.
Hello, I am Malachi. I go to Lone Pine School. My teacher is Mrs. Mock, and I want to thank her so much for helping me out on math problems, reading problems, my writing, and all of my school stuff. Even though we're farther away and we can't talk to each other more, she's still been helping me out a lot. Well, thank you, Miss Mock. Bye.
I love you, Mrs. Fieldtime, so much because you're so kind and nice.
Thank you, Miss Squill and Mr. Weinberg, for teaching me in the short year that we have. Hi, Mr. Vasquez.
Schmidt, I really miss you. I hope you have a good day with your girls today. And I hope
that we can go to school together soon.
Hi, Mrs. Joy. Thank you for all the hard work that you've done to keep us going on our schoolwork. You're a really good teacher. I miss you.
Hi, Mrs. Bennett. I love you. I'm so glad you're my teacher this year. And I hope you're doing good. Bye.
It's a big enough district, so you get all the support that you need from the different staff, from the coaches, from the administration. But at the same time, it has a sense of family. We all know each other. It's a small community in that sense.
The environment at South Medford is one of the most positive environments that I've ever been in. You walk down the hall and you talk to your peers and you feel supported and you feel loved.
It's a community-oriented place, not just teachers, but the community is involved in the education of children. And I believe that in this district, we work very, very hard together for a common goal to make sure that all children are succeeding at all levels and all diversity, and we try to incorporate as many things as we can and work together to make sure that children are going to succeed.
My name is Gloria Pareto Robertson, and I'm the Oregon State Teacher of the Year for the year 2017. I teach kindergarten at Howard Elementary in Medford, Oregon. The reason why I love teaching in Medford is that, especially here at Howard Elementary, we have such a diverse population. We have, this year in my class, I have students that are Filipino and they speak Tagalog, and then I have some students that speak Spanish and they come from all different parts of South America.
Our students really need role models. For our kids to see, hey, you know, that person looks like me. They even speak like me at times, or being able to connect to the parents in that way. That it's absolutely critical that our kids see their faces in the role models that are looking at every day.
One of my former students, she is now in community college. She was in my kindergarten class 13 years ago. She says, you have been my first and for the longest time, the only Mexican teacher I've had. And the fact that my mother can communicate with you and the other parents were able to communicate with you and see that school is a wonderful place to be and that it's a safe place to be and that we can learn just as well as everyone else. And so she wanted to come back and think about her teaching career here back where she started originally.
To spell by stretching
I'm
them
Isaiah
out.
Gannaway, and I teach kindergarten, and this is my first year. I love it. I'm having a great time. It's a lot of learning, but that's part of the fun of it too. The other kindergarten teachers took me in, let me be a part of the team, let me have input, which was fantastic for somebody who doesn't have experience, and they listened to me and let me be a part of the team.
One of the best ways for teachers to feel successful is when the students experience success. And you know, all the professional development that we do outside of the building is really important for us to sharpen that saw. But at the same time, the best professional development takes place inside the building. And when teachers collaborate with each other, that is just, we get so much out of those experiences.
The support that you get from administration and from the other teachers is different than in all places. So you really want to check out the school and the school district that you're going to. I had a 10-year career on the East Coast, and when I made this move, I made it deliberately. I knew what I wanted, I knew what I was looking for, and South Medford had it.
Opening the doors for children and watching them go through it, and the smiles and the joy that they have on their faces when they succeed with something they had no idea they were capable of.
One of the greatest things that I hear from students is that they feel South Medford is a safe and happy place. They're excited to be here, they want to be here, they're excited to see what you have in store for them that day, and if you ever have a question, you just ask your neighbor, and they're there for you.
The excitement when a student gets something that they've been working hard on is irreplaceable.
And so I came to Howard, and I was so happy, all the wonderful families that were here that just wanted to have somebody that they could have communicate with them and love them.
You know, I lived in a big city for 5 years, and it was fun. But there was also a bit of a sense of isolation, and here you don't have that. It's really easy to find your place, and it's really easy to connect, and really easy to be able to be a part of something.